Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we turn our attention to a case that has baffled investigators and haunted a community for over a decade. The vanishing of Claudia Lawrence. On March 18, 2009, this 35-year-old chef walked home from her shift in York, England, made a few phone calls, and then just disappeared without a trace.
Completely vanished. It's
Yeah.
chilling.
Police believe she was murdered by someone she knew, but a persistent code of silence has fundamentally prevented them from getting the answers they need.
That code of silence is such a frustrating central part of this whole story.
We're going to really try and unpack the perplexing case of Claudia Lawrence today and explore the enduring, agonizing question that has troubled so many: what truly happened to Claudia and who was protecting the killer?
Yeah, this is a truly frustrating case and poignant too. It has all those classic mystery elements, doesn't it?
It really
A
does.
sudden disappearance, the agonizing lack of a body, no clear crime scene.
Nothing definitive to go on initially.
Exactly. But then it's compounded massively by her complex personal life, which became such a focus.
Right. We definitely need to talk about that.
And the police investigation itself has faced, significant criticism over the years.
Yeah, quite a bit.
And then there's that wall of silence you mentioned. It just hangs over everything. The threads of truth here feel deeply, deeply tangled.
It seems like they're woven into her relationships, maybe secrets people are keeping.
Absolutely. And of course, the heartbreaking, relentless fight of her family, still desperate for answers after all this time.
So let's start there. Let's begin by sketching a portrait of Claudia Lawrence herself. Because, to understand the mystery, we need to try and understand the woman at its heart.
Definitely.
At the time she disappeared, Claudia was 35. She worked as a chef at the University of York's Goodrich College.
Right. A steady job.
And when her case first broke, the initial picture painted by the media and sort of initial reports was of someone really sociable.
Friendly, outgoing, like a pint down the pub. That sort of image.
Exactly. Loved connecting with people, enjoyed her local pubs, had a wide circle of friends,
Yeah.
and crucially seemed really close with her family.
Especially her dad, Peter.
Yes, particularly her father. So this was the initial public perception, a vibrant, active person. Her vanishing just seemed, utterly baffling against that backdrop.
But what's really fascinating and ultimately became quite controversial is how quickly that initial picture got more complicated.
Okay.
As the police dug deeper, they started revealing that Claudia also had a rather complex personal life, private perhaps.
That's it.
It involved multiple relationships, some of them apparently with married men.
Oh.
And this wasn't just a minor detail. It quickly became a really significant focus for the police investigation.
Right, sort of shifted their whole approach.
It absolutely did. It shaped their theories, who they wanted to talk to, how they questioned people. And as we'll get into, it massively influenced how the public saw Claudia and the case itself.
So this revelation of a more secretive or complicated life, as the police put it.
Yeah, that terminology itself is interesting. It immediately added a very different dimension. For some, maybe an uncomfortable one.
It must have made things incredibly difficult for investigators trying to sort fact from, perhaps rumor or speculation about her private life.
Definitely. Navigating that public versus private sphere is always tricky, especially when you suspect the answers might lie in those very private relationships.
It certainly adds a layer of intrigue and a huge challenge. Okay, with that background, the key really lies in those final hours, doesn't it?
Absolutely crucial.
Let's trace Claudia's movements on Wednesday, March 18, 2009. Try and pin down those last known contacts.
Okay.
The day started normally enough. We have CCTV, pretty precise, showing her arriving for her shift at the university at 5:57 a.m.
Very early start.
Yeah. Then, later that afternoon, about 2:31 p.m. to be exact, she leaves work.
And starts her usual walk home.
Yes, that 3-mile walk back to her house on Hensworth Road.
And we know she was seen on that walk.
We do. The last confirmed sighting of Claudia on CCTV is at 3:05 p.m. It shows her walking back towards her house.
So on her normal route heading home, seems like she was almost there, or certainly well on her way.
It looks that way. Following her routine path, Nothing seems amiss at this point.
And this is where her evening communications become just so vital
Yeah,
because they're the last confirmed contact.
right. And they place her at home, don't they?
Exactly. Which strongly suggests she finished that walk safely and got inside her house.
Okay, so what were those communications?
At 8:10 p.m., she has a phone conversation with her father, Peter Lawrence.
Just a normal chat?
By all accounts, yes, routine, nothing unusual reported, which, makes what happens next even more disturbing.
Then what?
Just 13 minutes later, 8:23 p.m., she sends a text message to a friend.
Okay. Still active on her phone.
And finally, at 9:12 p.m., she receives an incoming text message, the last one recorded on her phone.
And the significance of all this is?
The significance is huge. These calls and texts, they all originate from her home address. It strongly implies she made it back okay after her walk.
So whatever happened likely happened after 9:12 p.m. and while she was inside her house.
Precisely. It helps narrow down that crucial window. It shifts the focus away from something happening on her commute and towards something happening once she was back home, in the presumed safety of her own home.
So she gets home, have these normal calls and texts,
Yeah.
and then silence.
A complete silence.
And the alarm isn't really raised until the next day, Thursday, March 19th.
That's right. Her routine gets broken,
First thing, 6 a.m., she doesn't show up for her shift at the university.
which was apparently very unlike her. She was reliable.
So that would have immediately raised some flags with her colleagues, her employer.
Definitely. But the really pivotal moment, the thing that elevates concern massively, comes later that day.
The phone.
Yes. At 12:10 p.m., her mobile phone is deliberately switched off.
And deliberately is the key word there, isn't it? Not just the battery running out.
Exactly. Someone physically powered it down. And crucially, that phone has never, ever been recovered, never switched back on.
Vanished along with her.
Completely. Then, later that evening, the alarm bells really start ringing loud and clear.
She was supposed to meet a friend.
Yeah, her friend Susie Cooper. They had a regular arrangement to meet at the Nag's Head pub. Claudia didn't show up.
Again, uncharacteristic.
Very. So Susie, understandably worried, gets in touch with Claudia's father, Peter.
And that's what sets the official ball rolling.
That's the moment it moves from friends being worried to involving the family and very soon after the police.
So Peter reports her missing when?
On March 20th, the Friday, Peter Lawrence formally reports his daughter missing.
And the police response initially.
Initially, as is standard, they treat it as a missing person case. Start making those initial inquiries.
But it escalated quickly.
Very quickly, because there was just nothing, a complete lack of any proof of life.
Meaning no bank activity, no phone calls, no sightings.
Nothing at all. No social media, no contact with anyone. That complete absence led them to swiftly reclassify the case.
To suspected murder.
Yes, though the official reclassification didn't happen immediately. It took time, but the mindset shifted quite early on. By 2013, after 4 years of absolutely nothing,
4 years is a long time.
it is. No leads, no body, no trace. It was officially reclassified as a suspected murder investigation.
And that's more than just a name change, right? It changes how they investigate.
Oh, absolutely. It fundamentally shifts everything. You move from search and rescue thinking, checking hospitals, transport hubs, to a full criminal homicide investigation.
Focusing on forensics, motive, building a case.
Exactly. Different legal powers, warrants, specialist resources. It's a very somber official acknowledgement that they believe something sinister happened. Foul play is strongly suspected.
So when the police did get access to her house on Hemsworth Road, what did they actually find inside? Was there any sign of disturbance?
That's one of the most perplexing parts of the case. They found absolutely no signs of forced entry. None. And no obvious signs of a struggle inside either. Her house was apparently left in a pretty orderly state.
Which suggests what? Someone she knew. Someone let in voluntarily.
It strongly suggests that, yes, either someone she knew and trusted or someone who managed to get in and out without any kind of overt force or struggle being evident afterwards. That lack of disturbance is a really key piece of the puzzle.
And what about her belongings? Anything missing apart from her?
The most crucial missing items were her mobile phone, which we've discussed.
Stuffed deliberately.
Yes. And also a very specific type of rucksack, a Caramore rucksack.
Why was that significant?
Because it contained her chef's whites, her uniform that she'd presumably taken home from work,
Okay.
And this detail became even more relevant because police later released some CCTV footage. It was from near her home on the night she disappeared.
What did it show?
It showed a man carrying a rucksack, but despite public appeals showing the footage,
They couldn't identify him.
never definitively identified or located. So another baffling piece of the puzzle. The orderly house, the missing phone, the missing rucksack, it all points away from a random break-in.
More towards something personal, targeted.
That certainly became the prevailing police theory, which brings us right to that really controversial element, the code of silence.
Right. This was Detective Superintendent Ray Galloway's phrase, wasn't it? He led the investigation for a key period.
He did, and he was absolutely convinced, stated it very publicly and forcefully, that people in Claudia's life were holding back vital information.
Particularly men she knew.
Particularly men she had relationships with. Yes, he believed they were refusing to cooperate fully, refusing to provide information he felt was crucial to solving the case.
And he said this silence was actively hindering them.
He explicitly said it inhibits the progress of the investigation. He perceived this wall, almost impenetrable, built around the case right from the start.
So not just people not remembering things, but actively withholding.
That was his strong conviction, that people knew more than they were saying. Whether it was fear or misplaced loyalty or maybe even complicity, he believed their silence was obstructing justice.
And that must have heavily influenced their focus.
Absolutely. It led them to dig very deep into her personal life, her relationships, believing the answer was hidden within that circle, guarded by the silence. It turned the investigation partly into a psychological battle, trying to break down that wall.
That code of silence idea has really cast a long shadow, hasn't it? It became a sort of dominant narrative.
It really has.
And despite that challenge, the police efforts, well, they've been massive and persistent.
Incredibly so. Over many, many years.
We're talking multiple large-scale searches, aren't we?
Yes, huge searches. Across difficult terrain sometimes, draining ponds, combing through woods, searching fields, trying desperately to find any trace of her. The resources involved have been significant.
I remember hearing about a big search more recently, too.
Yes, as recently as 2021. A really significant search operation focused on the San Hutton gravel pits, which are a few miles outside York.
What did they do there?
They actually drained a local lake. A massive undertaking. A renewed, intense effort hoping to finally find something, anything, to break the case open.
And did they?
No. Frustratingly, nothing was found there that provided any real answers or moved the investigation forward.
So, years of searching, draining lakes, and still nothing concrete. What about arrests? Have people been arrested?
Yes, several men have been arrested over the years.
On what grounds?
Some on suspicion of murder, others on suspicion of perverting the course of justice.
Which implies deliberately misleading the police or hiding evidence.
Exactly. It's a serious charge, suggesting active hindrance, not just passive silence, maybe providing false alibis, destroying evidence, or, crucially, withholding that vital information.
But have any of these arrests led to charges?
No. And this is the recurring, heartbreaking pattern. Despite these arrests, every single person has eventually been released without charge.
Why? Lack of evidence.
Lack of sufficient evidence to meet the threshold for prosecution. Promising leads seem to turn cold, arrests don't translate into charges, and the core mystery just remains. It's deeply frustrating for everyone, especially the family.
The sheer persistence of the police, though, even without that breakthrough, it speaks volumes about how high profile this case became, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It cemented itself as one of the biggest, most enduring missing person investigations in the UK. The media attention has been immense and sustained for well over a decade now.
From the moment she vanished, it seemed to capture the public's attention.
It really did. Continuous news coverage, documentaries, endless online discussion. The sheer amount and longevity of that focus shows how much this case resonated, how much people wanted answers.
And driving that, keeping the pressure on, relentlessly, has been Claudia's family.
Unbelievably so.
Her father, Peter Lawrence, he became such a visible figure, didn't he? A real advocate.
He was absolutely tireless, singularly focused. After she disappeared, he basically dedicated his life to finding answers.
setting up websites, giving interviews.
Constantly talking to any media outlet that would listen, campaigning not just for Claudia, but for wider changes in the law to help other families of missing people.
He was behind Claudia's Law, wasn't he?
Yes, instrumental in advocating for what's now known as Claudia's Law, the Guardianship Missing Persons Act, 2017. It allows families to manage the financial affairs of a missing loved one after a certain time, a practical help born from his own awful experience.
And it's just so incredibly sad that he passed away in 2021.
It really is heartbreaking. He was 74. He died without ever knowing what happened to his daughter. Never got the answers he fought so desperately for. You felt that weight of unresolved grief just stayed with him.
But her mother is still fighting.
Yes, her mother, Claudia Lawrence, she continues that fight for answers, still participates in discussions. She was involved in a recent podcast, Answers for Claudia.
Trying to keep the case in the public eye.
Exactly. Hoping that even now, maintaining that visibility might just jog someone's memory or prick someone's conscience. Encourage them to finally come forward. Their resolve is just extraordinary.
The family's endurance.
Yeah.
It really highlights the human cost of all this uncertainty.
Profoundly. Okay, so with all that context, let's maybe explore the main theories that have circulated about what might have actually happened to Claudia.
Right. Starting with the official police line.
Yeah, the dominant theory they've pursued. Foul play by an acquaintance.
Meaning they believe she was harmed, likely murdered, by someone she knew.
Yes. Most probably, in their view, a man from that complex personal life we talked about.
And the evidence pointing that way for them is?
Well, several things. Her phone being deliberately switched off that suggests intent, not accident.
Okay.
The house being orderly, no forced entry implying someone known to her, or at least someone who didn't need to force their way in or cause a struggle.
Right. Less likely to be a stranger.
And of course, their strong belief in that code of silence. If people close to her are hiding something, it feeds directly into the theory that one of those people is responsible.
Makes sense from their perspective. But the massive holes in this theory are still there, aren't they?
Huge holes. The complete lack of a body is the biggest one. No definitive crime scene has ever been identified. And despite all the arrests, the interviews,
They've never found enough actual proof.
never enough tangible evidence to bring charges, let alone secure a conviction. That absence of proof is what keeps this case so open, so deeply unsettling.
Okay, what about other theories? Was a random attack ever seriously considered?
The theory of a random act of violence has been considered, yes. The idea that she might have just been unlucky, encountered the wrong person, a stranger perhaps on her walk home, or maybe someone who approached her house later.
An opportunistic attack.
Exactly. A chance encounter that tragically escalated. But investigators have generally viewed this as less likely.
Why is that?
Primarily because her last known communications placed her inside her home. That suggests the harm didn't happen on the walk itself, but later, once she was inside.
Okay, that timing is crucial.
It is. Plus, think about those extensive searches of all the surrounding areas, fields, woods, ponds.
You think a body might have been found?
Over more than a decade, if it was a random attack and disposal nearby, you might reasonably expect some trace or the body itself to have been discovered eventually. Maybe by accident, by a dog walker, something. Its absence argues against a random local disposal.
Right, so the evidence points away from a stranger attack.
Yeah.
What about the idea she just left? Voluntary disappearance.
That theory comes up in many missing person cases, but here it was dismissed very quickly and very firmly.
By both the police and her family.
Yes, emphatically by both. Their reasoning was pretty strong. Claudia was known to be incredibly close to her family, her parents, her sister.
They felt she'd never just leave without a word.
Absolutely not. They were adamant she wouldn't do that, wouldn't cause them that pain. It just wasn't in her character, they argued.
And the phone.
The phone is key here, too. She was a prolific user of her mobile. It was central to her social life, her connection to everyone.
So the fact it was deliberately switched off.
Exactly. That strongly suggests an external action by someone else to silence her communication rather than her choosing to cut ties and vanish herself. It just doesn't fit with someone planning to disappear voluntarily.
So voluntary disappearance seems very unlikely. Which brings us back again to her relationships.
It does. That police focus on her complicated and secretive relationships really is a persistent thread, isn't it?
It seems to be the core of their working theory.
From very early on, it became the central theme, presented publicly as maybe the key factor in understanding why she vanished.
And this fed directly into their main theory about someone she knew being involved.
Absolutely. The implication was that the motive, the perpetrator, likely stemmed from dynamics within those private relationships: jealousy, conflict, secrets getting out.
And that focus, well, wasn't universally accepted, was it? There was criticism.
Oh, definitely. Quite significant criticism. As details of these relationships emerged, particularly the ones with married men, accusations started flying.
Accusations of victim blaming.
Precisely. Critics felt the police were putting too much emphasis on her private life, her choices, rather than solely focusing on finding her or finding who harmed her.
The concern being that it might deflect from other possibilities.
Yes, or worse, that it subtly implied her lifestyle somehow contributed to what happened or made her somehow less deserving of sympathy or justice. It created real tension.
Between the police narrative and public perception.
Exactly. Some felt the focus was disproportionate, maybe even unfair, and potentially narrowed the investigation too much. And tragically, it did cast a shadow on Claudia herself in the public eye, reducing her complexity down to her private life.
It shows how difficult that balance is dealing with a victim's personal life in a public investigation.
It's incredibly difficult. And this intense media attention, the criticism, it also places Claudia's case within that wider, sometimes uncomfortable discussion about
Missing white woman syndrome.
exactly the phenomenon where cases involving white, often middle-class, missing women tend to receive disproportionately huge amounts of media coverage compared to others.
Which raises questions about fairness and equality and how cases are treated.
It does. It highlights who gets remembered, whose story gets amplified, and whether that impacts resources or public pressure for justice. It's a complex issue, and Claudia's case is often cited as an example of that intense focus.
And thinking about remembrance, we really have to come back to the family and the emotional toll. It's just immense.
Unimaginable, really.
Particularly her father, Peter, who mentioned his campaigning. His life just seemed consumed by it.
Completely. He was relentless, advocating, speaking out, pushing for answers, pushing for legal changes like Claudia's law.
That law helping families manage affairs. A practical legacy from such pain.
It is. But knowing he died without finding out what happened to Claudia, it's just profoundly sad. That lack of closure is a terrible burden to carry.
And her mother, Joan, still carries it. Still fighting for answers. Keeping Claudia's name out there.
Still hoping someone will break that silence. Their endurance is remarkable, but it underscores the deep wound this leaves.
And alongside the family's pain, there's that erosion of public trust in the investigation you mentioned.
Yes. The criticisms, particularly about the early stages and the handling of the code of silence narrative, it's left doubts in some people's minds.
A feeling that maybe things could have been done differently, or that leads weren't pursued properly.
That perception exists fairly or unfairly. The fact it remains unsolved, combined with the police's own theory of secrets being kept locally, it feeds that unsettling feeling.
The feeling that maybe a town, or at least some people within it, are hiding a devastating secret.
Exactly. That phrase captures the lingering suspicion and frustration, the lack of a body, no definitive crime scene. It fuels skepticism about whether everything possible was done or whether the silence truly was impenetrable.
It feels similar to other long unsolved UK cases, doesn't it? Like Susie Lamplaw, the estate agent who vanished in '86.
There are parallels. Meticulous investigations hitting brick walls, public speculation about secrets, the agony of no body ever being found.
What stands out to me in Claudia's case, the real core enigma, is just that complete absence.
No body, no clear motive, no definitive crime scene.
Exactly. And that lack of anything concrete is incredibly frustrating, obviously, for the police and family, but it also makes it endlessly captivating for the public, doesn't it?
It does. It fuels speculation. Theories keep getting generated. And there's this deep, almost primal human need for resolution, for closure.
Which this case just refuses to provide. It leaves this massive question mark hanging over everything, an unfinished story.
Absolutely. And if you think about why these cases, the ones with no body, no real evidence, no closure, haunt us so much.
Yeah, what is it about them?
I think it's because they represent this unsettling paradox The threads of truth in Claudia's case are just so tangled, so conflicting.
You mean the contrast between the sociable woman and the secret life?
That's part of it. That dichotomy is intriguing. People want to understand it, fill that gap. Then there's the contrast between the huge police effort we know happened
All the searches, the arrests.
against the stark reality of zero answers. No charges stuck, no body found, nothing definitive after all this time.
And the code of silence idea on top of that.
Yes, that pervasive belief held by police and echoed by many that the answers aren't just missing, they're being actively withheld, that a community or individuals within it are hiding something terrible.
That idea of secrets being kept,
Yeah.
it keeps the mystery alive, doesn't it? It suggests the truth is reachable, just blocked.
Precisely. It suggests the truth is trapped behind this unseen wall of silence. So ultimately, Claudia's case becomes this powerful, maybe cautionary story, not just about a disappearance.
But about what happens when a private life gets exposed so intensely.
Yes, and how that exposure, combined with that stubborn silence, might actually hinder the search for truth rather than help it. It leaves us with this chilling feeling that the truth is just out of reach, maybe deliberately so.
The disappearance of Claudia Lawrence is a mystery that has lingered for years, a case that has remained active but stubbornly unsolved. The threads of truth are tangled in a web of possible deceit, an intricate personal life laid bare, and a frustrating, enduring code of silence. The reality of what happened to Claudia may be forever hidden, tragically out of reach, but the memory of her and the tireless fight of her family for justice will never be extinguished.
This case serves as such a poignant reminder of how the absence of answers, that vacuum left by an unresolved disappearance, can create an enduring ache, not just for a family, but for an entire community, a wound that just refuses to heal.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of this compelling and heartbreaking case. Next time on Threads of Truth, we explore the heartbreaking disappearance of 8-year-old Relisha Rudd from Washington, D.C., a case where every adult around her failed in a different way.